Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'll call the Ayer Select Board to order for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. This hearing of the Ayer Select Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom and Channel 8. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 897-9080-0793 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at ATM at Ayer.MA.US or 978-772-8220 extension 100 prior to the meeting. I'll ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda for this evening?
I have none.
I don't have any.
I'll make a motion that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And chair says aye.
Heck, it disappeared.
We do have a few announcements tonight. The fall special town meeting will be held on Monday, October 23rd, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. The downtown trick-or-treating will be held on Saturday, October 28th, 2023 from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. And then the town-wide trick-or-treating will be held on Tuesday, October 31st, 2023 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Is there anyone here for public input this evening? No? Okay. Then we have the public hearing scheduled for 6:05, so we have 3 minutes before that. Any objections to going on to the meeting minutes?
No.
Okay. So we have meeting minutes for approval September 19th, 2023 and October 3rd, 2023. I did not have any edits or changes.
I did not either.
I had nothing.
Okay.
I will make a motion that the meeting minutes for September 19th, 2023 and October 3rd, 2023 be approved as submitted.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And chair says aye. Minutes are approved.
2 minutes.
The motion should have been slower.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
since Mr. Shalwick will be up here for the public hearing, do you want to move to the award of Kitty Junction and then go to the public hearing?
Sure, we can do that. Excellent idea. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hey, Dan.
Jeff Thomas is also here from Parks for the first item. So the award of the Kitty Junction Playground Improvement Project. So at the time of the submittal of my agenda items for the select board meeting, we hadn't opened the bids yet for the project. And subsequently we did, and I submitted a memo first thing this morning to Robert's office related to the results of the bid opening. So the town opened 6 bids. This was on last Friday, and they ranged from $454,000 approximately to about almost $1.5 million. That was one outlier. That's what I put in the median result was $547,000. Most of them were right around there. So the low bidder for the project is Seller Construction Corp. And they're out of Burlington, and we did a reference check on them ourselves and our consultant Bader, and they got high remarks from some of the other communities they've constructed playgrounds in. So it seems like we got a good bid price and a good contractor from what we're hearing. So I did mention in the memo that the construction budget for the project's about a little over $1.5 million, and the town has already separately procured the playground equipment and what's called the poured-in-place rubberized material that goes around the playground. And that was through the state bid, and that had savings to it, and the cost of that was $663,000 approximately. So looking at the construction budget, what's previously been procured, and now there's about $854,000 left in the budget for this $454,000 bid. So all things point to go. We recommend to the select board to award the contract for the Kitty Junction Playground to Seller Construction Co. of Burlington, Mass. for $454,575. I don't know if you have anything to add, Jeff, if you want to. Yeah.
Just a couple things. First of all, obviously it's been a long-term project, and we're really happy to getting to this corner of it. It's a very thrilling moment for us, actually, for the Parks Commission and myself. The bid was very good, I thought, for the price that we got. This will leave about $350,000 left in the budget that we will not need all of. So we're happy to say that it looks like it will be well under what we're doing. Obviously, contingencies still have to be met, so that's a big part of that. And then we still have to pay our company Beta, our consultants, I think it's another 30?
Yeah, it's about $30,000 in the amendment that we owe them. So
for just design work and things like that, and still paying for some of the extra work that was done for the mitigation of the first stage of things. I also wanted to mention that I think the select board is all familiar with how this is being laid out, that we have the traditional full-size playground, a more natural type of playground, and then a nature-based playground, which is being made with material that we were able to save from the trees when they had to be removed. We got such a wonderful gift from one of our residents, a guy named Brad Spinney. He lives in town. He has his own sawmill, and he is offered and has done already to mill the wood for free. To make it into these nice pieces that we're going to be used for natural play pieces, maybe even for a nice sign, for all sorts of things, benches. We actually had the kids from Groton School came for a volunteer day today just to treat the wood. So anybody who's going down there, if you're wondering what all that wood is doing laying down there, that's what that is. So it was just such a nice extra thing, and just makes you feel really good about your town when you have people stepping up to do this. And Brad's a young guy, he's in his 30s, so it's just it's a really nice thing. So we're all pretty excited about that.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Any questions?
I have no questions.
Not about the contract, it's just like curious about start date and what they anticipate, like the time.
Well, that's less than good news. Not terrible, but kind of expected. So as you may recall, when we finally were able to utilize the money that we received from town meeting July 1st, and then we ordered the equipment as quickly as we could. The turnaround time was set up to 26 weeks. So now, you just checked, and it looks like that's not going to be until March. So I don't know, that's more like 30-some weeks.
yeah.
But the good news is, assuming the board accepts the bid that we want to go with, we should be able to start that work in the fall for laying everything out and getting it ready. So when that equipment arrives, the contractor is also going to be responsible for installing the equipment. We'll do that, and then the poured in place is actually a pretty quick thing. That's just weather-based. Once it's warm enough, then we can put that right in. So ideally, it looks like we're going to be doing most of the work, the groundwork, through the fall and winter. Then doing the playground installation itself when it arrives, the pieces in March. Again, you never know, but that's what we're told.
Right.
And then the poured in place should be able to go, we're told, late March, early April. You can probably do it then, unless it's a cold streak. But we expect to have it done by around that date.
Excellent.
Any other question?
Okay. I don't have any other questions myself.
I make a motion that the board award the Kitty Junction Playground Improvements Project in the amount of $454,575 to Seller Construction Company, LLC, for signature by the board, or by the chair.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. So, excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff, for coming down, appreciate it. So circling back to the public hearing on the calendar year 2024 solid waste transfer station rates.
Town of Ayer notice of public hearing, Ayer Select Board, calendar year 2024 solid waste transfer station rates, public hearing. The Ayer Select Board will be conducting a remote and in-person public hearing on Tuesday, October 17th, 2023 at 6:05 PM, Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. The Select Board, in their legal capacity as the rate-setting authority for the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund transfer station, will hear the report and recommendations of the town's rate review committee, take public comments, and consider approval and adoption of the calendar year 2024 solid waste transfer station rates. For Zoom call-in information, please contact Assistant Town Manager Carly Antonellis at 978-772-8220, extension 100, or atm@ayer.ma.us. Date of public hearing, Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. Time of public hearing, 6:05 PM. Location of public hearing, in person at Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. Remote participation meeting held on Zoom. Meeting materials, information may be obtained by contacting Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager, at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100.
Excellent, thank you, Sean. Dan,
Ready to
turn
go?
it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on behalf of the Rate Review Committee, we have a presentation for the work the committee has done for the transfer station rates. So just a little background on the Rate Review Committee and the purpose. So purpose of the committee is to evaluate and recommend the transfer station rates to the Select Board. The committee also considers water and sewer rates, and that'll be at the appropriate time. And the goal of this meeting is to provide the recommendation of the transfer station rates. Here's a list of the members that are on the committee. Selectwoman Livingston, she's the chair. We have a citizen rep, Andy Levin, Finance Committee, Kurt Frakowski, myself, Kimberly Abraham from DPW, Pam Martin, Barbara Tierney, who's in the audience, and also Town Manager Robert Pomprion. Quick overview, the solid waste disposal and transfer station operation, it's an enterprise fund, and so it has a separate accounting and fees and rates that are charged for solid waste services, so it's separate from the general fund. The primary revenue sources for the transfer station are the annual permit sales, or sticker sales we call them, and the pay-as-you-throw bag sales. And there is a portion of the solid waste budget that is subsidized from the general fund. Some of the operations up at the transfer station include municipal solid waste, so trash acceptance, recycling acceptance, which is zero sort, except you'll notice cardboard is a separate container. Food waste collection, bulk items, and we have lists of those. Yard waste, which are hauled off to the brush dump on Bishop Road. The swap shed and books, textiles, metal recycling are some of the main items accepted. The current fees, and I won't go through all of them, annual permit fee $105, senior citizen $60, second permit $30, and we have our various bag fees and bulk tags, so we'll come back to the slide toward the end. Bulk item fees, I won't go through all of these. These were, if you'll remember, last revised January 1st of last year. And just kind of a breakdown of the solid waste budget and where the money is being expensed. And the two largest chunks are the wages, and the largest of those two is the disposal and recycling costs. And I do have a graphic that shows kind of in recent years how those prices have gone up, unfortunately. So when we took a look, the committee, when we started looking at the rates, we had to determine how much revenue needs to be generated from the the permit sticker and bag sales, pay-as-you-throw bag sales. So we look at the total budget of the transfer station, which is the $594,970, the subsidy from the general fund, and retained earnings that are being used, and that's directly from the town meeting article for FY '24. And then any other revenues that we are known. So there's a solar lease at the transfer station. We get approximately $24,000 from that. And then there's a few other items. The recycling committee gets some revenue from Recycle Your Reusables. And there are other recycling revenues such as textiles and the metal recycling as well. So other revenues are estimated at about $29,881. So in bold there, the total revenue needed is the key, $321,299 from sticker and bag sales. It's going, oops. I think I clicked off it, Carly.
Oh,
Yeah. There we go. And as we're looking at this, some of the notable budget considerations, the contracts for solid waste disposal and recycling, they've increased over the past few years, and it's primarily been, they have all the materials have to be hauled off-site and then disposed of, so there's costs for both of those, and hauling increased significantly when the Ukraine-Russia conflict began. And since that, it's come down a little bit with the price of fuel and more predictability. So long story short, our most recent contract for this fiscal year was a little better than our previous fiscal year contract, a little more favorable for the town. Recycling commodities market, it's been made more favorable in past years. I have a graphic that sort of shows that. So essentially, we're paying less to remove the recycling because the recycling is worth more. General cost increases due to inflation, the amount of tax levy or retained earnings used for subsidy, and user trends of the transfer station. So we'll look at some of those. So here's the graphic I've mentioned a few times. So trends of waste and recycling expenses. So this is since FY17, and you'll see it's a general trend line of increasing. And the recycling since FY20 is kind of leveled off, the green line. I can use my pointer. But the waste disposal has increased. Now, this year, I'd anticipate the waste disposal to kind of level off based on our contract we have. In recycling, it'll depend on the commodities market, but I don't expect a significant change. So, with that, we've been increasing our rates to kind of keep up with this over the years, and there's some information on that later. So transfer station user trends, it's pretty level here. You're right, plus or minus 1,400 users total on that top bar. That's the total number of users. The regular permit is the red bar, and you can see the last couple years since 2019 was low, 2020 jumped up, but it's gone down a little bit. And at the same time, the senior sticker purchases have gone up a little bit. And then we have our second stickers, which are pretty flat. So we have a rate model. It's a spreadsheet-based model that we use to plug and chug and determine what revenue scenario is best to develop the permit sticker and pay-as-you-throw bag sales. So there's several different scenarios put into this model. Here, all right, sorry, next slide. 12 different rate scenarios we look at, and I didn't show all of them here, but we looked at all those and for the various pay-as-you-throw and permit sales. And the current rates that we have now, without making any changes to bag or permit sales, would generate, are anticipated to generate $334,925. So that's higher than the $321,999 revenue that we require. So, and it provides a cushion of approximately $13,626 in the event that our anticipated modeled revenues, are lower. So you can see in the bold and underline on the bottom, the rate review committee discussed this, and we recommend no changes to the fees at this time. So recommendation equals no changes to fees. This is the previous slide earlier in the presentation. We would keep them all where they are right now. And here's kind of an overview of the recent fee increases since 2019 that I mentioned. And last November, we raised the regular sticker $5, but also various bulk item increases, and some more before that. Let's see. This slide, it's an estimated cost to residents. I put this in here, and there's an asterisk on this where I estimate the assumptions on the number of bags used for a household. So when you look at this, the permit fee, yeah, that's going to be $105 for a regular permit. And then depending on how many bags you use, it will determine how much your total cost is for the year. So assuming a household using 70 medium bags, then you would be at about $455 for the year. If you were a senior and you only used small bags and you were there every other week, you didn't have much family with, you didn't have any family with you, probably maybe 25 small bags, $160 for the year. So these are just estimates, just to kind of compare to, if you look at the bottom line here, the cost for a private hauler is approximately $720 per year, and I got that right from, what's their name? Waste Management's website, thank you. So some other analysis, just in curiosity, and we want to know this anyways, the analysis of the bulk item fee changes. So on January 1st of this year, the fees were changed significantly. They hadn't been changed in a while. And based on comparing the revenues of FY22 and FY23, it looks like somewhere between $5,000 and $9,000 of increased annual revenue are being realized from these bulk changes. I can't get an exact number, but I can get close to it based on the way that we put in our revenues. There's a lot. It's not just like, here's how much you get for stickers, here's how much you get for bags. They're combined. So it does seem like we'll be seeing an impact there, as we hoped. Okay, under other. So last year, in the fall of 2022, the Rate Review Committee began evaluating our Ayers transfer station. And a couple of the items that the committee looked at were comparing Ayer to some other towns, and there were some local concerns with the price of bags and several other items. So we did a comparison to other towns. We looked at possibly shifting some costs around from the stickers and the bags to lower the price of the bags, but nothing seemed worthy of being recommended at the time. The data did indicate that the fees in Ayer, they're slightly higher than some of our neighboring communities, so we still, realize there's work to be done there. So based on these concerns, the committee began consideration of a third-party professional review of the operations and finances of the transfer station to try to address these concerns. I don't think I'll go through all these, but these are some of the concerns that the committee has been looking at: the high bag and sticker prices compared to nearby, that should say, communities, relatively flat sticker sales, non-pay-as-you-throw bags in the waste stream, wage expenses by full-time employees. Some of the neighboring towns utilize part-time. So there's many factors, variables that can be looked at, put into the equation, and try to figure out what's the best, most efficient way for the town to operate the station and reduce costs. So the professional evaluation the committee is considering, it would ultimately provide recommended changes. They're anticipated to be effective at reducing rates and improving efficiency of operations, which I just actually said. The evaluation, it would not look at curbside. You can see that in underlined.
Could you say that again?
Are you kidding? Or
No curbside.
No curbside.
Okay, yeah. So the Rate Review Committee, after looking at this this past fall, does recommend to the Select Board to implement a professional evaluation, and the committee did receive 2 proposals from consultants to date, and are seeking more to get an understanding of how much it would cost and the scope. The 2 proposals, one was at $16,540, the other just over $21,000, and so funding these proposals would be required, and some options the committee discussed. There could be utilization of ARPA, UDAG could be an option, or we could use capital. Now, the first 2 options, ARPA or UDAG, the money's available essentially once it gets authorized, but capital, it would not be available till July 1, 2024. So I think, at this point, the committee is still reaching out to get a few more proposals before it totally understands and decides and puts together the formal recommendation to the board. But right now, this is where the committee is heading. and we just wanted to get that on the board's radar at this point in time. So in summary, no changes to the transfer station fees are recommendation, and implementation of the professional evaluation of the operations and finances of the transfer station. So feel free to chime in if I miss something.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Open up to the board for any questions?
So, Mr. Chair, as you know, it's been about a decade since the last time that the transfer station has had everything kind of evaluated. So this is a good time to do it. We're not asking for any, vote on the funding for the proposal. We'll come back at a later date, we'll go on the agenda and come back. And that way, as Dan indicated, you can kind of see the full thing as to what we're looking at. But the committee's done a lot of work. We've asked a lot of questions. We did a real kind of a deep dive. It was kind of brutal some days. But no, it's been really, really good. And I really like this committee. This committee does a lot of hard work and everything. So we're pretty pleased with what we've come up with and presenting to the board tonight.
Excellent. Sean, any questions?
No questions. Anytime we don't have to raise rates, it's a good time.
I totally agree with you, and I think Janice, she hit the nail on the head. It's been 10 years, so it's definitely worthwhile having it looked at by a professional. Just curiosity, and I know we just have a couple of bids, and how long would that process take for the analysis in general?
Once we once we gave the notice to proceed to the consultant, it'd probably be a month to a month and a half for them to do the analysis. But with meeting times, maybe add another month to that just to be
That's still
safe.
relatively,
Yeah,
that's
say
pretty
within 3
quick for
months.
government work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Robert?
And just to add to what Dan said, I think we discussed that at the completion, it would include, at a minimum, to be further discussed, but a presentation to the rate review committee on recommendations, but also a presentation to the select board on the recommendations as well.
Okay,
Correct.
excellent. All right.
I have nothing else.
All right. I don't have any other questions or comments. Anyone in the public? Pauline?
Yeah, I'm saying wait to me. I can't.
No worries.
Good evening. I'm well, thank
I
you.
anticipated a question, so I was going to wait anyway.
Thank you. First of all, I want to commend the rate review committee. I think I didn't miss a meeting.
I don't think so.
Janice, you can confirm that. Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
No, you didn't. You didn't miss a meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'm encouraged by what I listened and heard at the meeting. I have two drawbacks, and Janice is going to second this, I think. We really need to go back to some kind of stickers for bags so that the public can use any bag and not those awful things that the town sells. And I'm not blaming the town for selling those awful things. It's just what you have available to you. And I believe Dan was looking into that. And I would really encourage the rate review committee to continue to look at stickers as opposed to, and one of the concerns was tearing a sticker in half. And I'll admit, the brilliant idea the other day, use a round sticker. Round stickers don't tear in half as easily as rectangular ones do. But the other big concern I have is we need, this is a broken record, more citizen participation in this committee. We get our bills, we complain about our bills, and we do nothing to make it better. I commend Mr. Lovin for stepping up and joining the committee, but I think when I asked, aren't there 3 citizen positions on that committee?
I think we still do have an opening, which, as you know, we've advertised.
Yes, I do.
So
I try to encourage people, so.
evidently it's illegal to like drag them in off the street and.
Yeah, they do frown upon that.
Yeah, so, but yeah, we would love it if people would join this committee. This committee, I just want people to know, this committee is a really good committee. So if you ever had a desire to be on a committee, this one, I really think you'd enjoy. There's just something about the makeup of this committee that it is worthwhile, and somehow even enjoyable. Weirdly, I know, you're kind of thinking, well, that's kind of weird, but it is. There's just something about this committee that it is just very effective, and I really wish people would decide to join it.
And I don't think people know enough about it, and there's so many new people, and I agree with you, Janice. This committee is extremely important because it not only brings in revenue for the town, but it impacts residents directly. And those who complain about their water, sewer, and transfer station fees have the ability to make changes by being part of this committee. So anyway, I thank you for all your efforts. I'm sorry that sometimes I sat in the back of the room and made you a little nervous at one time, but keep on doing. I appreciate all that you do.
Just to clarify why she said that, she was in my line of view. Every time I was sitting there and every time I looked up, she was like right there, and I would turn and I'd be like locked. So it just kind of became a running joke.
Thank you. Sarah, with the...
I just had one question. The select board is approving the rates, and is this tied to the days and hours of operation? Or is that...
There's no change to the days and hours of operations with this vote. It's rates only.
Can they change it?
No.
Not in this meeting, no. We would have to put it on the agenda for discussion at a later time.
Well, that would actually come from the proposal that we're going to want to do, and it's also in the contracts
Yep.
as far as the hours. So anything like that would have to come via the proposal and the union contract.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Do we have a motion to set the rates?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that the select board approve the recommendation of no changes to the transfer station fees and implementation of a professional evaluation of the operations and finances of the transfer station as presented tonight.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Rates are approved. I have a motion to close the public hearing, please.
So moved.
Seconded?
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye.
Okay.
Excellent. Back to you, Dan, for your next item.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. So the second item is related to the upcoming street acceptance for Curly Circle. That's the John Carroll Reserve subdivision off of Littleton Road. There's a handful of items on the punch list that the developer will not be able to complete by town meeting. And those items include a street sign, which actually just got delivered, just needs to be installed. The street lights, which are half done, the poles are in, but he does not have the fixtures. And then also there's an area of drainage where there's some channelization, which was identified that needs to be addressed. So he needs to complete that and satisfactory to DPW and the town. So what we did, and we've done this previously, is we put together a memorandum of understanding to address these items rather than restarting the street acceptance process. And the developer does currently have $24,750 in a surety with the planning board, and that would stay with the planning board and be tied to this memorandum of understanding. So he can't get that money until he completes these items, which is sufficient value, in my opinion, for the remaining work to be completed. So how it would work is the board would execute this memorandum of understanding. The developer would complete those items subsequent to town meeting, but there's also one step after town meeting before the town acquires the street, and that's the select board has to acquire it by, there's a few different legal instruments such as a taking it's typically done. So between the period of town meeting and taking the road finally at the end, I would expect him to complete these items. So if there was an issue at that time, that select board could elect not to acquire the road, so.
Okay, what's the timing around acceptance of the road with getting this into like the Chapter 90 calculation?
So I think once the board acquires the road so it's 120 days to acquire. Once that gets acquired, I can take the formal vote certificate from the town clerk, and I send that into Mass DOT. There's a submittal process, and then it will get added to the calculation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I have no questions.
Okay, that's all I had for, that was my one question.
Yeah, this sounds reasonable.
So I'll make a motion that the board execute the memorandum of understanding with the developer of Curly Circle for signature by the chair.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And chair says aye, it's approved.
Okay. And the last item on my agenda is the water supply update, which we've been providing monthly from the DPW. And it's essentially been more since the last update I gave. There's been higher demand and we haven't been filling the tank as often. You know, throughout the week, the tanks slowly drop. They start out about 55 feet full Sunday. And then by Friday, it's in the mid 40s, mid to low 40s. We'd get really worried if it was about 35. So we have been able to top it off typically every weekend. And one of the things that's going to be ongoing, it started this week, is we have annual leak detection services that come in and go around town searching for leaks. It's a requirement for unaccounted water. So if there are any leaks out there, maybe we'll find them through that. And we have been in communication and working with the industries as well. And then just on another note, so at this time, we wouldn't recommend any changes to the current water restrictions. But on another note too, we are moving forward with the clear well design, which the board appropriated the ARPA funds for, and we're working with the Army also to get payment for that. So that is moving forward, and we're hoping to get the design completed this fall and winter to hopefully get construction going next year to solve our dilemma. So that's the water update.
Okay. Excellent, thank you. Any questions?
I have no questions.
All right. And that's it for this evening.
All right, yep, thanks.
Excellent, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, up next on the agenda, we have the Assurance Advisory Committee recommendation for the FY25 employee health insurance.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Pomprian.
Members of the board, through the board, if we could have, we have some of the representatives from the IAC this evening if they want to come up to the table. I'll introduce the ones that are here. Amanda Lewis, Benefits and Payroll, who's also the non-union representative to the IAC. Mr. Kevin Johnston, the retiree representative to the IAC. Christina Zoller, the president of the ASFE 93 Town Hall Clerical Union, and we have Lieutenant Brenton Bourne representing the Fire Union. We also, Mr. Chair, on remotely have Ms. Tara Fafford from Maya, who's a representative from Maya that's been working with the IAC on the Maya piece. So good evening, Tara. Mr. Chair, members of the board, as you're aware, you authorized the reconstitution of the IAC this past summer to really look at two things. One is we were due for our due diligence of looking at health insurance. It had been about 3 or 4 years since we last looked at it. And secondly, as a result of recent concerns with the trends from Minuteman Neshoba Health Group, specifically as this board is aware, the last budget cycle for FY24, we had hoped for a 10% increase, budgeted for 15, and it came back at a 14% increase. And there's been several years of significant increases. Additionally, just over the last 3 years or so, 5 member entities of this group purchasing of the Neshoba Health Group have left the group. And since last spring, I know that in addition to Ayer, there are some other members looking at leaving as well. So these were concerning trends. So you have in the packet the memo and the recommendation from the IAC, and a thanks to Amanda Lewis for putting this all together. As you can see, the IAC met on July 25th, September 13th, September 27th, and October 10th. Had a lot of good discussion. There were presentation made by Maya on what they have to offer. Our most recent meeting on October 10th had quite a few retirees in attendance with questions. The benefits and payroll manager did send out a communication to all active employees about the potential switch. She also sent another communication to anyone that had Tufts or Harvard Pilgrim, as if we were to change, they would have some impacts. And thirdly, sent a letter to all of the retirees as part of the due diligence. So just as you have in the memo, in the interest of time, as far as the recommendation, on October 10th, the Insurance Advisory Committee voted 6-0 in favor of recommending that the town of Ayer leave the Minuteman Neshoba Health Group and go to Maya. And as the board is aware, ultimately that requires a formal vote from this board authorizing the letter to Minuteman Neshoba Health Group, and then we would move forward. We realize that we have a contractual deadline of December 1st, but the IAC felt that all of its due diligence had been done, and sort of why wait, to quote Lieutenant Bourne, if you don't mind, it said that, sooner than, later, that we move forward. Just finally, as highlighted in the memo, some of the fundamental advantages moving to Maya. It's a larger municipal joint purchasing collaborative, perhaps one of the largest in the country. And as Mr. Johnson brought up at a couple of the IAC meetings, the Minuteman Neshoba Health Group is probably one of the smallest, if not the smallest, in the state. So by going to a larger, it can absorb, as the second bullet, high claims and balance cost impacts better. The ability to take a proactive stance. There's customized health plans with rates based on claim experience. The rates lock in on the trust average. There's some new things, some added reimbursement for a fitness and weight loss program, the option of adding on dental insurance. There's a 60-day notice to leave Maya, just so the board, that question did come up, this is if we, the choice and decision, rests with the town. Those folks in active plans that have Tufts and Harvard Pilgrim, because we'd be moving to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, they would have a modest premium decrease there as well. Some of the concerns that were discussed, specific rate increases are unknown at this time. So we talked a lot about, unfortunately we don't have a crystal ball, but Minuteman Neshoba Health Group won't know its active plan rates until March. Yet we have to let them know by December 1st. It's just a structural issue, but we have a lot of discussion and reason to believe where those rates will continue to go. Minuteman Neshoba Health Group offers Tufts and Harvard Pilgrim and Blue Cross and Blue Shield, so they have the three options. The Maya has the one plan, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, but in discussing it with the IAC, it seems to mirror almost the majority of what folks have now. So the two things that we're most concerned of is what is the best possible plan for our employees, but also that is at a reasonable, affordable, and sustainable rate. And then lastly, and we didn't talk about this, and don't say this lightly, but is the termination of a long-term relationship. We've been a member of the Minuteman Neshoba Health Group for quite some time, but we're not seeing any plan from them to replace the folks that are leaving the table, and that's concerning. That there's been 5 and 3 years, and there's others contemplating, and the natural shift has seemed to be towards Maya. So that's just a thumbnail sketch. I'll stop there. The recommendation, again, is for the board to authorize notifying Minuteman Neshoba Health Group that the town would be leaving and would be going to Maya. And I can turn it back to you, Mr. Chair, and some representatives are here for any questions.
So my first question is, on the first point on the concerns, is the specific rate increase is unknown. Is that just the initial rate increase going over to Maya from Minuteman for like next fiscal year? Is it more just a lack of like going forward? Like Minuteman, we were always knew it was going to be like anywhere between like, 7 to 12% was generally the historical average.
Yeah. So the first issue is that we We don't know specifically what the Minuteman Neshoba health rates are going to be until March, but we have reason to believe, based on what we looked at, they're going to be at least 10% increase, okay? Do you want to speak to the Maya rates that we have?
Maya, what's on the, being proposed, we know what the Maya rates are. So we know what the cost will be for FY '25.
Okay.
If we stay with Minuteman Neshoba, we won't know what that cost will be until February or March when Minuteman Neshoba releases their rates. So, you know, Minuteman Neshoba may come in at 4%, or they may come in at another 14%. We just won't know that until they do their rate review.
Okay, thank you. Open up to questions?
No real question, but I was just thinking if we have to notify them by December 1st and we don't get the results until March, is like what the rates are being, that's why they're waiting to see how many people leave in December. So if people are flooding away, then yeah, I think it's a good idea to move.
Agree. I don't have
Agree,
any
I think it's a good move.
Yeah. You good?
All right.
All right.
Open up to anyone else has any more comments from the IAC?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You just can't go away.
Like a bad penny. This decision, in my opinion, should the board elect to make it, really stabilizes things going forward. We're going to a larger joint purchasing group with more industry clout, and it makes a significant difference when we look at the rates going forward for this small group. Being such a small group, there's so much volatility. One substantial claim could really impact the rates going forward, which is why the recommendation is for this decision. That's part of the reason why.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
I'll make a motion that the select board accepts the IAC's recommendation that we accept the MIIA insurance rate proposal and join the MIIA Health Benefits Trust in fiscal year '25.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Excellent. Thanks, everyone, for your hard work
Thank
on
you.
this.
Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
And up next, we have the town manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, members of
Over
the
to you.
board, good evening. In terms of on administrative matters, you have the warrants in the packet that were reviewed and approved since the board last met. In terms of the administrative update, as announced by the board, the fall town meeting is on Monday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. in the auditorium of the Ayer Shirley Regional High School. The warrant has been posted, as the board is aware. It's been printed, it's been mailed to all of the households. Starting today, if you go to the town's website, to the town meeting page, we have the warrant, we have all of the articles, and there's 5 of them, and we have all of the supporting documents for each article. If there's something, if members of the public need further information or have questions, as always, please contact us. We want folks to have all of the information going into town meeting. I know that the town moderator has been doing some office hours at town hall that have been advertised. And we also started the articles of the day today as well. So I think we're in good shape for Monday on the town meeting. We're in the whole budget season, as the board is aware. The rate review report, a lot of work has gone into the solid waste piece and will continue, and then we'll be shifting gears shortly to water and sewer rates. The capital directive for capital planning has gone out to all departments, have until October 27th to submit their capital plans for FY 25, and then the capital process will start shortly on that front. And before long, the budget directive will be going out as well. So we'll talk about in just a moment on the budget calendar moving forward. So it's that time of year again on that front. I also want to mention sort of coming attractions for the November 7th Select Board meeting. I know that the Facilities Director will be here to give a presentation and update on the proposed solution or resolution to the acoustic issue in the Great Hall. He is also going to commence with improving that temporary meeting and storage space, which was approved by town meeting on the Capitol. We met with the Historic Commission a couple weeks ago on that as well. So a lot of capital is moving forward, and I will be sending a memo to the Select Board into the Finance Committee with an update, as we do every year, as to where all the departments are on capital. So before the action items, I don't know if there are any questions from the board on any administrative matters or concerns.
Just one quick question. So I know Janice mentioned that there's an opening on the rate review committee. We have one position that's open on the capital planning committee, right?
Correct. There is a resident vacancy on capital and on rate review.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. I do have, for the board's consideration this evening, one appointment. You have a letter of interest from Miss Jane Morris, who would like to serve on the Ayer Affordable Housing Committee, and I'm recommending that the board vote to appoint Jane Morris to the Ayer Affordable Housing Committee for a term to expire on June 30th of 2025.
I think Jane would be a wonderful addition.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So I would like to make a motion that Jane Morris be appointed to the Ayer Affordable Housing Committee with a term to expire on June 30th, 2025.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And chair says aye.
Okay. The next item is the budget calendar for FY '25, which I know we submitted a draft a few meetings back for the board to look at. This tool, I think, has worked well over the last several budget cycles since we've started it. It puts a schedule for everybody, all boards, committees, the public, everybody on the same page. And then if we have to change any deadlines, really keeping us to them, to come back to the board to change those. I don't know if there's any further questions or suggestions from the board, but we're looking to sort of get your approval to begin to move this forward. I just want to point out, if you go, for example, to November, Tuesday, November 21st, in talking with the assessor, the public hearing for the tax classification, they'll be ready for November 21st. I know in the past, sometimes we've done the first week or the first meeting in December. But they're ready to go for that date. So I put that there, but again.
Is that the week of Thanksgiving?
That is the Tuesday right before Thanksgiving,
Yes.
which is why I think we've tended to put it in the first
Yeah, which
meeting in
is why it's
December. Nothing says Happy
Correct.
Thanksgiving, then here's your new tax rate.
I'd recommend moving that.
Okay, I mean, that's why I wanted to bring that up. So December 5th.
That works.
Yes. Yeah. Tuesday, December 5th. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is we will definitely, if you go to January, looking to have a budget public forum on Wednesday, January 24th, with the Select Board and the FinCom. I think that public forum makes sense, to present the budget and the major issues. The thing I think we should continue to think about is the issue of potentially a second forum, and we talked about this last time, and we don't have to get into all of the discussion now. We're looking on doing some topics and things recorded, as we discussed before, try to change it up. I'm all ears as we get closer to town meeting, what would be the helpful outreach there. So something to think about. I mean, I definitely think that the January public forum makes sense to present everything. And what do we do further for outreach and, pre-taping some of it? Do another forum not opposed to that, but I think that's something we should think about and further discuss. And we've got a little bit of time on that end.
Okay. Yeah, I think last year the second form seemed a bit long, with a little more information than had to be in there.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway. So, my view on the forms is, we do the first presentation, this is the budget, go through the explanations. And then when you do the second, it's just what's changed in between. So, whether we get the insurance rates, the debt numbers, et cetera, maybe one or two expenses come up. And then even going through the finalized capital at that point too.
Yeah.
So that would shorten it down quite a bit.
Okay. So those are the two substantive changes since the last version.
So just on I'm all for the public forum, but I'm gonna just kind of throw out a question on the date of the first one for January 24th. And the reason why I'm questioning the date is because, a lot of times, like, capital was not necessarily done, or, there's other loose ends. So I'm just wondering if maybe we want to consider doing it in February for the first one. I'm throwing it out there for discussion.
The last couple of years on capital, we've been done. Last year, with the lone exception was Kitty Depot, because we were still waiting for more information. I think at that point, from a capital perspective, we're in good position to at least present what we have. If we have anything open, we'll mention that and we can look at it. My view is I like to get the information out as quickly as possible, like once it's disseminated by the select board and the finance committee, so it gives them opportunity, because the forum tries to put it in context as to what it is, as opposed to just here's the budgetary numbers, and people are looking at little notes on the side and not necessarily getting the full context.
No, I'm fine. I just wanted to throw it out for conversation.
I think the 24th will work.
Yeah.
Because capital is usually done. We usually do our final votes just before Christmas or just after New Year's. So we should be in good position at that point.
So that was the only two sort of substantive changes. And then the board is saying, tonight we would change the tax classification to Tuesday, December the 5th.
Yep. Excellent.
I have no changes.
All right. No, that's all I have.
I think that's all I have.
So, do you want a motion?
Please.
Make a motion that the board approve the Town of Ayer fiscal year 25 budget calendar as presented, with the one modification that the tax classification meeting be switched from Tuesday, November 21st to Tuesday, December 5th, 2023.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye.
And then, Mr. Chairman, through you, the last item I have, I'm going to turn over to the Assistant Town Manager, is the review and approval of the Community Choice Power Supply Program Aggregation Plan.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, so we're at a point now where we would have the board, if you approve the plan tonight, it was on out for public comment for the 30 days statutorily required. We actually had it out for about 45 to 50 days. We got 2 responses. We answered the responses. In reviewing the questions with the consultant, we didn't feel that the questions posed were enough, or the public feedback was enough to change the plan. So it's the same plan that you saw when we put it out in early August. So just where we're at, there's like a helpful guide in the packet. Once, if we vote tonight, I'll send in certified minutes to our consultant, then it will start the state approval process, which unfortunately there's like a 2-year waiting because the DPU is backed up big time. But I would recommend that we go forward with approving the plan so we can get it moving to the state process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments?
No, I'm glad that we've gotten to this point.
Yeah, it says right here, you are here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Pauline, you have a question?
Not a question. We're talking about the aggregation plan, right?
Correct.
I'm sorry, I'm cooking dinner while I'm listening to you all. This will not surprise you, but I've read all 80 pages. And I came across something that concerned me that I think we need to look at, or we, meaning you. On page 2 of the proponents, contractors, I don't know what to call them, I'm sorry, the proposal, it says the following. The select board acts as the town, sorry, I'm trying to read this without my glasses. Town executive, chief executive body responsible for the general welfare of the community. Agreed. Specific powers and responsibility of the select board are set forth in the town charter.
That's true, we don't have a town charter.
We do not have one.
Yeah, so we can ask, I think that was probably just a carryover from a different town, so we'll just ask them to strike that sentence.
And to look, I didn't spend time looking for it in the other 78 pages. But we don't have a charter, we have articles of incorporation. We don't even have a bylaw that I can recall setting forth the powers and duties of the select board. They are inherent in Mass General Law. So I think we just need to clean that up. I don't want to see any problems with this going forward. Otherwise, look good to me.
Thank you, Pauline.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. All right. So other than that,
That's the only. I will just point out that also on page 11, charter appears again.
Yep, we'll have them take all the.
Yeah, we'll have them.
That's
So
the
we'll
only two
strike that
times.
charter.
We'll have to take care of the boilerplate, yeah.
okay. Do I have a motion to accept the plan with changes of striking charter? Or do we want to wait until those changes are made?
Do you want to see the changes?
I think I'm fine moving forward as is, like
Okay.
with just
I
modifying.
mean, it's going to be 2 years, so
I know, yeah.
waiting one more meeting just to make sure the changes are made. I mean, if that's what you want to do. Otherwise,
Yeah,
we can get
I'm
this
good
out the
moving
door.
forward. I'm
Okay.
fine.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Because I trust her that she'll get this taken care of, so.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that the select board approve the Town of Ayer municipal aggregation implementation. Yes, outline, yes. Is that what we're doing, approving the outline?
No, we're approving the
Okay, just-
aggregation plan.
All right. I hate these glasses. Yeah, so I make a motion that the select board approve the Town of Ayer municipal aggregation implementation, or document, plan.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And chair says aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Carlos.
My God, that was painful.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that concludes my report. Thank you for the time this evening.
All right. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Carly. So nothing on the agenda under new business or select board member questions. Any questions or comments?
Nope, I got
To the
nothing.
board? Excellent. We've already done meeting minutes. That would bring us to the last item on the
Mr.
agenda.
Chair, I'll make a
Yes.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Thanks, everyone, for your time tonight. Have a good evening.